Just in case you want to say inspired name for me, please.
Sure. Elizabeth Mead, Meade.
And your title?
Chief of Pediatrics at Swedish.
There we go. What I'll do is I will be right here. Since I have you framed.
Okay.
Pull up the questions that Michelle sent to me. So really,
I can find them too.
just what I have it right here. Okay, so obviously nowadays social media, people don't think about it too often, especially when parents, their children start getting onto it, getting involved in it. I mean, we all hear stories, but a lot of people don't believe it. Why is it so important for parents to be aware of what's going on with their children on social media?
I think it's really important for parents to be aware at any age, because we used to talk about it a lot with older kids when they started getting on social media themselves and how to be safe doing that. And now we're really recognizing that we actually have to be thoughtful about what parents are putting on social media about their younger children.
How much is too much?
I think rather than thinking about how much is too much, I think it's important to think about what the content is. So there's a couple of areas where we worry a little bit about it, and one of those is your child going to be embarrassed by this? Is this something they would want to have out there in the internet? Because as we know, things don't really go away. They can live forever, right? So is it something that your child would be embarrassed about? Could they be bullied about it? We even think about things like, if it's personal health information, could it affect them getting health insurance or getting a job later on in life if it's out in the internet? And then the other domain is really safety concerns, and this is something that happens much more rarely, but it's probably more scary for a lot of parents. Is, could someone steal this photo and put it on a pedophile website? Could they use the photo and to sort of do this digital kidnapping phenomenon that we're hearing about, where they're actually posing as if it's their own child? Or could the kid have identity theft if the full name and the birth date are on there for everyone to see?
I think people just don't think that a photo can be as damaging as it possibly can be all at once.
Yeah.
So the camera shifts on me slightly. I'll make sure we're still in frame. 1 second.
Sure.
Squeezing around here. Doesn't feel weird talking to the back of the monitor. Anyway, yeah, people, especially kids, teenagers, it's all about the selfies, and so they don't realize how damaging it possibly could be, just as simple picture.
Yeah, I think older kids in particular, there's this real concept that whatever they put on the internet is private, and so I think it can be very dangerous for kids and for parents to not recognize what are the privacy settings on the site you're posting on. Is it something that someone else could actually appropriate and use for themselves?
Because they think privacy settings mean that they can't be touched.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and we were just talking about this earlier. I think even if you have your own account set to private on certain social media platforms, if someone else comments on something or can share your post, then all different people can see it that you're not connected with. So I think it's really important to not just click the I agree when you read the privacy settings, but to actually read them and understand what your posts are going to do.
Whereas those privacy settings can be pretty long. People will think, oh, it's just the same old thing.
They can. Yeah, they can be really long. And, I really want to say that I think social media is such a positive tool. I'm very active on it. I think it's a wonderful resource for parents to share photos and information about their kids with family or friends who might not live nearby, to connect with other parents and other resources. But I think people just need to be really thoughtful about what they're putting on in terms of content and who that might go to.
She asked the question, is there a formula to follow? I don't know if it's a formula for parents or if it's a formula for, you word that question?
I think the question was in regards to is there, are there a number of posts you should post a day or not post?
Yeah.
And, is there a magic formula to kind of monitor or
as far as parents go or children or?
Just kind of that's managing social with your kids. Or for yourself.
Yeah, the article was about parents sharing stuff about their younger kids, so that might be where they were focusing.
Okay, so is there a formula to follow as a parent?
I think there's no magic formula. I think just keeping some guidelines in mind, so making sure again that you really understand the privacy settings of what you're posting on, and then never posting pictures of your kids in state of undress that could be mistakenly used for other things. I think also, we've talked about it's really helpful to actually set a Google alert with your child's name, and that way if anything gets posted about your child, you should be alerted to it. That can be really helpful and kind of comforting for parents as well. And then just being certain that whatever you're posting is something that your child wouldn't mind other people seeing. And you can really ask pretty young kids whether they want something posted or not. So even 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, they'll usually have an opinion and they'll be able to say, no, I don't want anybody to see that, or yeah, that's fine, send it to everyone.
Some parents would say their 4, 5, 6-year-olds definitely have opinions.
Yeah, I mean, they know how to use social media better than I do, I think a lot of the time.
Asking why is this an issue? I think we already covered that about what can go wrong, and what's the worst case scenario, especially at pedophile sites or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think as everyone's use of media and social media is just exploding and expanding, we're just coming across things that we never had to worry about before.
How can your pediatrician help?
So, pediatrician's role is really to work with parents to help keep kids healthy and safe. And so this is just one arena where that can be important. I think there's a lot of people who feel very comfortable with what they're already doing on social media in terms of their kids, and that's great. But there's a lot of parents who really want some guidance in this area, and so the pediatrician can be a great resource to help kind of give them some guidelines to follow.
No, today's society seems like parents want to be friends more than parents to their children, and parent and children have a little too much power. Is it okay to tell a parent that it's okay to monitor what your child does on social media?
Absolutely. I mean, I think especially for younger kids, and every child's going to be a little bit different in terms of the age where parents feel comfortable sort of letting them use it on their own. But for younger kids in particular, it's absolutely okay for parents to be aware of what's going on, and you should be honest with your kids about that and say, you're allowed to use this as long as mom and dad know what's happening.
So, I mean, in your professional opinion, is it okay for a child to be on social media, being active on social media without being monitored?
I think, again, it depends on the age of the child. So older adolescents probably, yes, can have some privacy in terms of what they're doing on social media. Younger adolescents and kids younger than that, it's really more helpful if a parent can be at least partly involved, because they can get into really scary situations without realizing it.
Because it's just not a reminder, it's not trusting the child, but
Yeah.
it's what else is out there.
Right. And I think when you talk to younger kids about this, and this is why it's so important to start those conversations really early, if you never talk to your child about it and then when they turn 15 they want to have an Instagram account and you say, well, I have to monitor everything you're doing, that conversation might not go so well. But if you've been talking with your child from an early age about what could go wrong or dangers that exist and really how to use it responsibly, then I think it's a much easier conversation as they get older.
Anything else we can cover?
Yeah, did you cover tips for parents?
We talked about Google Alert, we talked about privacy settings, we talked about not posting naked photos.
Anything about cell phones or anything that they can do or that we should know about?
In terms of?
Because there are some monitoring apps.
Yeah.
I mean, are those okay? Are those things that you would be okay with?
There are some monitoring apps, and I think depending on the app, it's something that can be useful for parents. But again, I think it really has to start with a very open, honest conversation with your child about why you want to be aware of what they're doing on social media. Yeah. Are there any other tips we talked about that I didn't say?
We did cover a broad spectrum on that.
Yeah.
Especially as a parent and my wife is a detective.
Yeah.
Honestly, right now this week she's in FBI training school.
Wow.
About child abductions.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A
Yeah.
lot of it, social media and all that.
Oh, that was the other
For
thing.
the identity.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
That was the
You
other thing
mentioned
I was going to say.
identity
Yeah, so I think, you may want to consider, if you're posting information, health information that's personal or anything private about your child, you consider doing it anonymously if you're looking for advice or connection. And then the other thing I would say is that people should really be thoughtful about whether they want to post their child's full name and birth date, because that's something that can lead to identity theft either now or even down the road when the child is older.
So I think you want to say about a lot of the tagging has to have location.
Mm-hmm.
So it can
Yeah.
suddenly they're tagging their child's school,
Yeah.
their age,
Yep.
they're giving their date, grade,
Yep.
everything like that. And
That's a great point.
That's something we should watch out for.
Yeah, I recommend not tagging specifics in terms of your child if you're posting about your child. So not their school, not the location where they are. If you're on vacation, not posting that location, just to keep a little bit of a barrier there.
I know that's always a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even post my own location when I tweet stuff usually, because
I usually do it when I'm at work. Because
Yeah.
obviously my work.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
where I'm at and where this thing is happening.
right. But yeah, if I'm out of town, I don't want everybody knowing that my house is empty.
Right.
You know?
That's a big
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a whole different security.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think that covers all the
think
Yeah,
we covered a lot.
I think that was great.
This, I mean, friend of. I guess we're stating that people don't understand the life of a photo
Right.
on social media.
Yeah, I think teenagers in particular do not understand that once you post something on any internet site, it could be there forever out in the world. So just because you think it's temporary, just because it's on Snapchat, doesn't mean that it truly goes away. It lives in that space potentially indefinitely.
Even a text, right? I mean,
Even a text. I mean, people can screenshot things can be recovered, and we were just saying that 50% of photos that are on pedophile websites we estimate have been taken from other people's social media sites. So this is something that people just really need to be aware of, and teens in particular just don't think about the fact that once you put something out there, it's there.
That sounds good. Yeah, got that on that one.
Is there a good way to audit what's out there of your kid? I mean, outside of doing like.
Yeah. I mean, so I recommend that parents have a Google alert, but you can also Google search yourself and Google search your children's name and just see if anything pops up. We've heard stories of parents who have come across photos of their own children on other people's websites claiming to be their own child. So you may happen across it, but I think it's also a good idea to periodically do a little digging and just make sure there's nothing out there that you don't want to be there.
Maybe that's one perk of having a wife who's a detective, because
Yeah.
she usually does these searches, because
Yeah.
it's also homework for her as well.
Yeah.
Because there's things that she needs to check out on a regular basis, not just for our family, but to keep up with the skills of how to actually find those
Yeah.
things.
I mean, I've searched for myself and there have been things about me that I was quoted and I'm like, I never said that or talked to this person. So yeah, you have to be careful.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I really think we have it now.
Okay.
I think we have
Yeah,
it.
that was
Just
great.
extra ones at the end.